God, after he spoke long ago to the fathers, in the prophets in many portions and in many ways, in these last days has spoken to us in his Son. Hebrews 1 through 2. Scripture is the storehouse of divine revelation. For decades, liberal theologians have misrepresented the Bible as merely a collection of man's religious thoughts and aspirations. But Scripture is much more than that. It is, in fact, divine revelation, God's self-disclosure through his Spirit to the human authors. Man could never know God's identity, attributes, perspectives, or commands if God hadn't revealed them to him. Nor could man know his own origin or purpose or destiny. Paul said, "Things which eye has not seen and ear has not heard, and which have not entered the heart of man, all that God has prepared for those who love him. For to us God revealed them through the Spirit." 1 Corinthians chapter 2. In 2 Timothy 3:16 he adds, "All Scripture is inspired by God and profitable for teaching, for reproof, for correction, for training in righteousness." God inspired every word of Scripture and speaks on every page. Hebrews 1 speaks of two general means by which God revealed himself: Old Testament revelation, long ago, verse 1, and New Testament revelation in his Son, verse 2. First, he spoke to the Jewish fathers through the Old Testament prophets in many portions. That refers to all the books of the Old Testament. In many ways, speaks of the specific means by which he communicated: visions, prophecies, parables, types, symbols, ceremonies, theophanies, and an audible voice. From the close of the Old Testament to the arrival of John the Baptist, there were approximately 400 years during which God was silent, but that silence was shattered when John announced the coming of Christ. From that time on, God spoke through his Son. The Gospels record his life and teachings. The book of Acts shows the propagation of his teachings through the apostles and early church, and the epistles apply his teachings to everyday life, and Revelation tells us of his triumphal return and the consummation of divine revelation. Isn't it wonderful to know God's perspective on life and history? Maranatha.